Hello, and welcome to WANA Pod by WANA Learning, the podcast where we explore innovative ways to learn, grow, and stay successful in our ever-evolving world. I'm your host, Nisa Burrell, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey. In today's episode, we are joined by Sam Larkin, founder of Neon Recruitment, whose agency aims to connect the brightest talent with businesses so both can achieve their ambitions through staffing the correct people at the right companies, fairly and openly, with everyone's best interest at heart. And this is an ethos I believe we need to grow across the workplace to truly embody what strengths diverse teams can bring. Whether from an EDI perspective or from a neurodivergent perspective, when the right people meet the right environments, they can thrive. And this is why I am pleased to introduce someone that has not only taken the brave step of starting up a business, but has done it with the challenges of both motherhood and having ADHD. So for those of you that have wanted to do something similar, but are worried that you might not be suited for it, please let this interview be an inspiration. Hello, Sam. Thank you for joining us today. I'm very excited to have you here, as I think you have a story that's going to resonate with a lot of people. So kicking us off, can you please share your journey of transitioning from a more corporate environment to running your own businesses, and what challenges and rewards have you experienced in that shift?
Well, thanks for having me, because you might regret it, but we'll have fun along the way. It's fine. So I work in recruitment, and I believe there are very few of us that ever set out to actually work in recruitment, but it's kind of like a bad habit. You get sucked in, somehow you turn around, you've done 10 years in the industry, which is exactly the position I'm in. So for me, I started with a franchise branch of Select Appointments. And it was only 2 months old when I actually joined the company. And I joined this incredible lady called Caroline Deutsch. She's one of the most sensational businesswomen you're ever likely to meet. Ex-client services director. She's 5 foot nothing, weighs about 7 stone. But she's one of those women, when you've seen that saying, when your feet hit the ground, the devil starts running. That's Caroline. That's Caroline Deutsch. Incredible woman. And do you know what? She was really inspirational, and she taught me I could do anything that I put my mind to. So I was kind of 29 when I met her, and she was like my first proper mentor, and she helped me achieve so much. But kind of after working with her for about 3 years, she'd inspired me so intensely that I wanted to go and work in London, which was something that I always had put up on a pedestal and thought I was never sort of good enough. So, but she kind of got me there. And that's when I went. So, but the weird thing about me is I don't work well in corporates, but I deal with them extremely well. I know that sounds really weird. I just can't work in them. I think this is why they like dealing with me, though, because what you see is what you get, very black and white. But I just can't work in that environment. It's probably purely psychological, but it's just the way I'm set up.
I find it really interesting that actually you've touched on that, because there's a couple of points. One of mentorship, you had somebody that had your back, that was encouraging you, and that's made you feel like you actually could achieve it. And then you've come out with the kind of comment about, I wasn't sure if I was good enough for London. And then you're like, I'm not sure if I'm set up for that corporate space. But actually, one of the things that I find quite interesting is how you've been able to almost take yourself back to kind of observe it more.
I think it's the neurodiverse in me, the ADHD, which is what I'm diagnosed with, and some might say suffer, some might say it's a superpower, whatever. The second that I got diagnosed, all the barriers came down, everything started getting stripped out, and I started really understanding myself on a granular level. And this goes all the way back to being 6-7 years old, and some of the behaviours that I used to display then. And I think once you remove that kind of masking element, that ability, that questioning, why am I different? Why am I not normal, in inverted commas? I think you really start to see and understand why people deal with you as a business person, because I think a lot of neurodiverse people like to deal with us because what you see is what you get. It's black and white, it's straightforward, We normally cut the crap. We just are what we are. And so I think that's a major benefit, particularly people who work in corporate who do get exhausted by having to put this face, this mask, this persona on every day. I think my issue is just I have an inferiority complex. And I think most women in business do. I think we've all got imposter syndrome. In fact, I'd probably say everyone does, to be fair.
As time goes on, the kind of broad spectrum of people within the corporate space is changing, and it is more acceptable for people to come and be themselves and to not necessarily need that mask so much. It is slow to change. Like, we're not there overnight, but actually one of the things that I'm particularly pleased that you're bringing to the table is that you are somebody that is actively looking at the corporate space of what are the strengths, what do they need, and who's the right fit for that. And that might be somebody of a more diverse background than what they've previously hired. So, as somebody with ADHD, how do you stay organised and focused while balancing the demands of self-employment? Do you use any specific tools or strategies to help you?
It's so hard because I always knew I was different. So, like I said, like even as a child, I wouldn't have been able to concentrate the way other people could. I have never revised for an exam in my life, but I've got really good grades. I struggle to read books. My only coping mechanism that I have is to do it now. So when a task comes up, I have to treat it with urgency, right here, right now. You ask me to do something, I'm either going to do it now or I'm not going to do it. But there's no in between. So I have to write things down in my diary. I have to make lists to try and be really structured in terms of having a routine in my workday or know where I am. But things always come up, particularly in recruitment. Like I try and stick to specific time windows to manage my, like, I'm sure you've seen this saying, my Ferrari brain with my bicycle brakes, because that is like the best analogy I've ever heard of an ADHD brain. The other side, the other side is Ritalin. With like concentrating without hyper focusing is impossible without medication. And it's not for everyone, but it does really work for me. It helps me no end, but I completely respect people who don't want to go down the medication route. Like I do get it. I think being self-employed is actually my saving grace, because if I'm not feeling it at 9 a.m, I might go to the gym and I might be working till 10 p.m, but it's good for me. It works, and it works with my brain. Traditional working hours is just torture, I think, for neurodiverse people.
I think that's a really valid point, and it's something that, so I used to work within the built environment and particularly around a lot of engineers, and you would kind of see that everybody's being kind of forced into a working environment that wouldn't necessarily work. And the last place that I worked, they did start becoming more like aware of neurodiversity and actually what can we do to make it a better workspace. And I'm proud to say that I saw them actually apply flexible working hours. I saw them be a lot more open about what makes a good workspace for them, and actually have consulting sessions with people to actually be like, what can we do for you, what do you need from us? And I think you've just touched on it. You've been self-employed, so you've been able to work that out for yourself, and touching on things like, writing down lists and kind of the way that you handle things are good things anyway in terms of just time management practices. But it's actually being able to recognize what does that mean. And the more workplaces can actually do that as well, I think it would help people find the best of both situations between being either self-employed or within corporate space.
Like, please tell me why it's 2025. Oh, I just said that for the first time this year. And we're still measuring how good you are at your job based on how many hours you work and not the output. Like, somebody tell me why we aren't measuring output. Somebody tell me why we aren't structuring everything around output, rather than have you worked your 9 hours today, sat at your desk, got bored to tears and hate yourself.
It's this kind of configured box giving, which I think, the world of corporate has just got to kind of lose favour with. So for those that are thinking about becoming self-employed and they do maybe have ADHD or another neurodivergent aspect, what advice would you give them, particularly if they're looking at a field like recruitment?
Okay, so I think getting your confidence into the right space is the main one. So if you have ADHD, you typically also have RSD, which is rejection sensitivity disorder. So we're people pleasers. We hyper focus. We're super passionate. We're determined. We're driven. We take risks. We're normally quite optimistic as well, and usually quite empathetic. There's a guy called John Torrens. He did a TEDx talk in Syracuse University, and out of 62% of highly successful entrepreneurs, they all had traits conducive with ADHD. So they aren't diagnosed. So, those of us who are diagnosed, oh my God, we're in a perfect position because we already know we're going to be all of those amazing, wonderful things. Come on. Let me give you some examples of incredible people who have ADHD. You've got Lily Allen, Anita Roddick, Emma Watson, Richard Branson, Walt Disney. They all have ADHD. If they can do it, you can do it too. Like, the one thing that those people have around them, though, they have the right team. If you look at anyone successful, it doesn't matter if you've got ADHD or not, you need to get the right people around you. Getting someone to hold you to account, pay someone to keep you organised, buy the right software, the systems, surround yourself with the right people as well. This is one of my most favourite sayings, is you are the result of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so pick them wisely. And that really, really does matter. It makes a huge difference.
That is such a powerful point. It really is. And I think this is coming back to that knowing your strengths, isn't it? What is it you're good at? Where is your time really giving you value? And actually the bits that you have to happen because they're part of running a business. Not to be rude, I will pay for an accountant quite happily than sit there and deal with my own tax return. Absolutely no problem with that. Is that kind of aspect, but on a bigger scale of actually, if you're in the space where there's parts that you love and that actually give you value and that you're really good at, why would you want to, waste your time doing a bit that actually somebody else is going to be better at?
Just pay someone who's better at it to do it, because you're wasting everybody's time, and all you're going to do is just like drain your creativity, and it's just going to drain you a joy. So why would you do it?
Recruitment itself can be really competitive and quite fast paced. How do you maintain that motivation and energy, and particularly if you're facing setbacks or a lack of results?
Oh, so actually, I think like recruitment is perfect for anybody who have an ADHD brain. Because each job that comes in is like a new project. Each client is different, so it's constantly changing and evolving, so you don't get bored and you don't get stagnant. It's so fast paced that it matches my brain's rhythms. When it goes wrong, it can be really frustrating, particularly as people are the most unreliable product you're ever likely to deal with. But then like my determined side comes out, and I try and find a solution or make sure whatever went wrong doesn't happen again. Because I've got like this like a little gremlin that lives in my head that's like, you've got to do that perfectly. Like, just send them the one CV. Make it bang on. It's ridiculous. But me myself, because I'm very, very ethically driven. And again, this is an ADHD trait. Some of my clients have been with me more than 9 years because of the way that I deal with them, because I'm honest, and because I won't do things that don't benefit every single party.
Which is just so much more sustainable in terms of finding the right fit for them, finding the right fit for you, helping them achieve their end goals. And let's be honest, no one wants a huge amount of staff churn. So actually, that's just the right way to approach things. So it's great to see that actually you found a career that the strengths that you're bringing to the table feel quite harmonious and feel quite connected. Earlier on, we talked briefly about the starting off in a franchise and then getting the kind of experience to move towards London. How has that experience, particularly in that sort of more corporate space, shaped the way that you approach recruitment today, especially in terms of kind of client relationships and business development?
So I don't see this corporate divide any longer. The one that I used to see probably about 10 years ago, certainly when I started the business. I see people and I see a need. And the older I've got, the easier it's become to see that we are all just people. So I think there are so many corporate games that when someone like me walks into a client office, and I'm quite obviously not normal, I think that they find it refreshing. I can't hide who I am. I can't mask it either. I'm just Sam Larkin. And I find people find that so much easier to trust because there is just the layer of bullshit has been removed, basically.
Yeah, you said it kind of straight on earlier. There's no games. You're just there for a purely, I'm trying to make things better, and that's what you're going to deliver.
Exactly.
So, in your opinion, what are the key skills or qualities that make a recruiter successful in today's market?
So commercial acumen and empathy. You got to have both. If you don't
Mm.
understand how businesses work intrinsically from a people and a commercial perspective, you should not work in recruitment in 2025. We should be consultatively led, not me find skills. And
Mhm.
you need empathy
Mm.
because you have to make sure that you're doing the right thing for everyone involved from every side. If you don't have that empathetic nature, if you don't have that commercial drive and want to make businesses a better place and careers better for people, then I don't think you should work in my industry.
I love that. The workplace is the place where the majority of us spend the most amount of our time.
Yeah.
It's a huge commitment of our hours in our day. And it can't just be about going to get money to pay bills. It's got to actually be something more kind of value and rewarding. Have you had to overcome any specific stigmas or misconceptions about being a female entrepreneur, particularly in a traditionally male-dominated industry?
So there was only one incidence of this, and the bloke who did it to me really insensitively told me that he would buy my business only 2 weeks after I came back from maternity leave because I threatened him at a networking event. I don't mean threatened as in, oh, I'm going to punch you in the face. I mean threatened as in,
Well, I mean,
one
Sam, I
of,
did see your Christmas cards recently. What was it like? Deck the halls, not your colleagues.
I mean, yeah, I can see why you think that, but I mean, I think he was just threatened by me being there.
Mm.
Well, his business went under last year, so I was like, okay. But actually, I've found most men I've encountered in business have been my biggest cheerleaders.
Mm.
I have like a tiny, tiny like inner circle that I rely on to give me like really incredible advice. And they're three people. And when it's like something that goes wrong, I will pick up the phone to one of those three people and I'll be like, oh, something's happened. Oh my God, can you help me? And two of them are blokes. Two of them are
Yeah.
men, and both of those chaps are like the biggest cheerleaders for women's careers, and they like totally level the playing field, like where their opinions of anything are concerned. So I've had such a really good experience of dealing with men in the workplace and working alongside them as well.
Be that advocate. Particularly for those of you that have been in the industry for a lot longer, and you might be looking at, your last 10 careers, actually, apart from the succession of the company that you've helped build, what can you give to the next generation of women coming through and be that person that they can turn to and be like, help, something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Everyone needs that person. So if you can be that person, regardless, I think that's amazing. How do you maintain a work-life balance while running your own business? Do you set boundaries to avoid burnout, especially with the added challenge of ADHD?
No, I'm useless at it.
Honest.
Yeah, yeah. But I work really well with my colleague Cherie, and she tells me when I'm burning out, and then I proceed to ignore her. So I just think it's unavoidable with ADHD. You will burn out a little bit. For me, with a toddler, I don't feel I work enough. I
Mhm.
also don't feel I'm mum enough, but that's a different story. But before having my son 3 years ago, I would happily work 70 hour week. The one thing I've never done is work weekends. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it.
Mhm.
I don't want to do it. So I guess that's my boundary.
We have many hats. We're never just the director of a business. We're never just, the person that you see at home. We're everything. And actually, we need to kind of be able to work out how does that all fit into a set amount of hours in the day. So that's going to bring me on to the question actually of what extra challenges do neurodiverse women face when balancing motherhood and their careers? And how does that impact their career journey?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm going to rant.
We love it, rant. We can
Um,
rant.
I'm unscripted going off on one over here, girl. Okay. most women get diagnosed or start to realize that they've got like major executive functioning issues after they've had children. So the load and the bearance and the coping mechanisms that you put in place for yourself as a neurodiverse person, they go out the window the second that you become a mother. It's overwhelming. For me, it was just way too much, and it was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. And that's ultimately, I wanted to be a better business person and a better mother, which is why I sought diagnosis. The added strain of becoming a mum in that time meant that I had to get more help with things, more assistance. And there's loads of really good programs out there, like Access to Work, and lots of ADHD coaches if you've got neurodiversity, or if and you're a business owner. That are, some of these are funded by the government as well, and rightfully we should do. We've left people cast aside with various sort of ailments for years and years and years, particularly women, and particularly when it concerns women's problems as well, because it's either we haven't studied enough, we haven't looked into it in enough detail, or it's okay, you're a woman, get on with it. I find it incredibly sad. So the toll of motherhood on a neurodiverse woman, diagnosed or undiagnosed, is massive. Neurodiverse or not neurodiverse is massive. We're still the default parent. We're still the caregiver, the provider. But now we've got this extra layer of, 20 years ago, how many women do you know didn't work? I can count on one hand the amount of women I know who have got one, maybe two children under the age of 4 or 5 that don't work. All of us work. So now we're telling people you can have it all. You can have the career, you can have this, you can have that. But don't you dare stop working 40 hours a week. Don't you dare stop paying for your childcare and going to work for free. Don't you dare stop doing all the other things that we've never had, but now we're telling you you can have them. But you can't have it all, but you can have it all.
Yeah, you can't give anything up. You can't kind of take a step back from something to focus on another. It's just, you've got to spread yourself thinner.
Yeah, spread yourself thinner, but do everything better than you did beforehand. And I find it deeply, deeply upsetting. And it is my unstructured rant of this podcast.
But it's such a valuable moment for those of you, because you obviously can't see us. We're both at this moment, we can see each other's body language kind of both like, oh, it's not on. It's not on.
I'm gesticulating like my life depended on it.
But it's such an important thing, and it's something that I'm going to say to everybody in the workplace, you need to be speaking up and actually what is really expected of a workplace. Whether that's looking at the challenges of diversity with the challenges of motherhood or families. I think it's really valid that we talk about these things, and that particularly if they're passionate enough to make us want to stand up on our pedestal and have a rant, it needs to be listened to. And that happens when more of us do that and have that conversation. Can you share a moment or experience in your career where you've learned a significant lesson that's just shaped how you approach work now?
Do you know what? Every day I learn something, because I deal with people. And no one's the same. So for me, every day is a moment where I can learn a little bit more, gain some valuable insight, explore something new, and kind of grow professionally.
I love that, because one of the things that's showing me is that you're really present.
Yeah.
You're in that learning mode, you're sat there, you're taking everything on board, and actually having that day to day just means that you're going to be really growing and a really strong person. So having that and bringing that into everyday career moments, I think is wonderful. So what other tips or tools would you recommend to other professionals to help them continue growing and developing in their career?
So after spending 10 years in, dealing with people's careers, I think my biggest advice to anyone is, where possible, I want you to collide your passion with your career. So if you're in sales, but your passion is horses, go and work as a field sales rep for a horse product company or sell equestrian goods. If you love gardening and you're in accounts, go and work for a group of garden centres in the accounts team. Wake up every day excited, intrigued and passionate about what you do, because I've only worked for 25 years so far, and I'm nearly 40. Right, I've still got another 30 years to work if I even retire at all at this rate. I don't recruit people. That's not my job. I don't recruit people. I've done 10 years in helping people find their damn purpose. 10 years helping people achieve their earning potential and grow companies and make businesses a better place. That's what I do for a living. That's my passion. That's my purpose. Seeing everyone around me grow. And you could do that in your career too, but you have to find your, what the Japanese called your ikigai. I think I've totally mispronounced that, by the way. I think it's ikigai. It's ikigai. So ikigai is a Japanese term. Okay, so it blends two words. Iki, meaning to live, and gai, meaning reason, which translates to, obviously, a reason to live. It's a concept that encourages people to discover what truly matters to them and to live a life full of like purpose and joy. And that's what we should be doing. We should be doing that in our careers. We should be doing that every day that we go to work, showing up with purpose and passion and joy and intrigue. And yeah, you'll get bad days. Yeah, you will. Everybody gets bad days. But make sure you love what you do. You don't go for the paycheck, but really love what you do, because it makes a huge difference. The money will always come. Don't worry about the money. The money will always follow, but do what you love and the money will come.
I think there's so many things as well that we've touched on in this whole episode, actually, with all the different kind of routes and various conversations we've explored. It comes back to, if you can find something that really resonates for you, you're going to be great at it.
My parting shot is, don't look at anybody else's version of success. Define your own and stick to it. Because to some people, success is financial freedom.
Yeah.
Some people want to change the world. Other people, success is measured by how loved they are. There's no right or wrong. Success in your career and your business can only be measured by you, because no one else matters.
And again, it's putting yourself into actually the value that you bring, not only to the business that you're in, but actually to yourself. And actually, if you get that right, it's fantastic. And actually taking the time to work out what that actually means for you and what that looks for you is really important. So Sam, if people want to connect with you and get in touch with you, how best that they do that?
You can find me making an idiot out of myself on LinkedIn at any given moment. Sam with two M's, Larkin. So linkedin.com/Sam Larkin. You can find me on Instagram. We're under @NeonRecruitment.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Sam. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of WANA Pod by WANA Learning. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review and share with your friends. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram or TikTok for more content. Until next time, keep learning, and remember, if you follow your passion, you'll be surprised where you can end up. I'm Lisa Burrell, and this is WANA Pod by WANA Learning. See you next time.